Wait until you see what Mr. Steve is wearing today. You won't believe it. The sounds you can hear are us preparing to go live. So here we are again, Mr. Steve. What do you think we are going to talk about today? Is there anything on your mind at the moment?
Electric cars.
Of course.
Well, is that what we're going to talk about, Mr. Duncan? Is it the change in policy in the UK on electric cars?
Oh dear, we're off already. We haven't even started yet and already Mr. Steve is talking about electric cars. Here we go then, we are back with you live. We are outside. Hopefully it will not rain. Today we are talking about lots of things. What is on your mind at the moment? Is there anything on your mind? I wonder. It is a beautiful afternoon. Now the rain has stopped. The rain has stopped falling. There he is. Come to me, Mr. Steve. Come to me. Don't be a stranger in this world. Hi, everybody. This is Mr. Steve. There he is over there. Can you see him? And Mr. Duncan. We are now live on YouTube, as we always are every Sunday. I hope you are having a good Sunday where you are. I'm just going to set the live stream up on my little device so we can see what is happening.
We're outside, you see, so technically things have to be done a little differently.
There we go.
Than they are in the studio.
Already,
but,
yes, it's done. Look at that so quickly.
Mr. Duncan.
And already the live chat is also incredibly busy as well. We are live with you. Hi everybody. This is Mr. Duncan and Mr. Steve. We are now live on YouTube. I don't know why. We look a strange colour today. I don't know why. Maybe it's the camera.
You've been fiddling around with
No.
all the various settings.
No, I haven't. I haven't touched anything.
Maybe it's the light. Maybe there's a strange light.
Oh, we look lovely, actually. I'm just looking now at ourselves on the screen. We look very nice, actually. Not too bad at all, even though everything is a bit juddery. I don't know why that is. Oh.
You said I looked like a tramp before we came on, but I hadn't got time to change. So what do the viewers think? Do you think I look smart enough for the live stream?
I
or
don't,
do I look a bit...
What are you wearing?
Dowdy is the word.
What are you wearing,
Well,
Steve?
it's like a sweat top.
That looks like something you've retrieved from someone's dustbin.
Well, what do you think? Do I look smart enough, presentable enough for the viewership? Or should I go and change and put something else on that will brighten your day a bit more than this, what Mr. Duncan described as a dull piece of rag? But I thought it was going to be cold out here, so I thought I'd put something warm on. But anyway, up to you.
Okay, where are you going, Steve?
I'm not going anywhere.
Just step back a bit. You don't have to get too close. It's okay. I'm trying to operate this, you see. Just give me a second, Steve.
Well, shall I keep talking then?
No, just wait a second. Here we go. I'm just trying to get the live chat back up. It's very strange. I'm sure they've changed this again, you know. YouTube keep changing things, and I really do hate it when they do.
It was just there a minute ago, Mr. Duncan.
I know, now it's disappeared. I don't know where the live chat has gone.
There is it. We must have the live chat. Mr. Duncan.
It's back.
I solved the problem.
No, you didn't.
I did.
I saw it anyway.
I said, is it there?
Anyway, Steve.
That's a first.
No one cares about this conversation, by the way.
Well, you started it. Me solving a technical issue, Mr. Duncan.
Anyway, live chat. Everyone's on the live chat. Hello, Sunday. It's nice to see you here. This is, of course, the last Sunday live stream. And
Whatever.
what, do you want it to be the last one ever?
Well, you just said it's the last live stream. Do you mean in September?
In September,
Ah,
yes.
right, okay. Just,
I-
we are coming back in
Well,
October.
I didn't say we weren't.
But anyway.
You said we weren't.
Well, you listen to it later, Mr. Duncan. You'll
No.
see what I mean.
Yes, I said the last live stream, and then you butted in. You interrupted before I could finish the sentence. So yes, we are here this week and also next weekend. By the way, something interesting is happening next week, not very far away from where we live. It is the first ever Pride Day or Pride Weekend in Shrewsbury. So I'm thinking I might go along there next week. Steve won't be there because he's doing other things, but I'm going to be there, hopefully, if the weather is good. And I might even do a live stream from the first ever. It is historical, a historic thing even, something that will be remembered for many years. It's the first ever Pride celebration, you might call it, Pride weekend in Shrewsbury. So
They're a very conservative lot in Shrewsbury, so we're amazed that it's happening.
so there we go. So we will see what happens there.
We're expecting riots and conflict.
Okay.
But you'll be there to film it all, Mr. Duncan.
Well, I won't be
so,
filming it. I'll be live.
That's what I mean. You'll
Yes.
be filming it. Yes.
Well, you film something and record it. You do it
God.
live. It's a live
so
stream.
he's so
No,
pedantic.
I'm
he's
not.
so pedantic.
I'm not being pedantic.
Pedantic.
It's not pedantic, Steve. Can I? Hello, Vitas. Hello, Vitas. Nice to see you here. You are first on today's live stream. We also have Dimitros as well. Dimitros is here. It's nice to see you also on the live chat as well. We are outside. Something that we've been doing for the past 3 weeks, and it seems to be going rather well. It stopped raining, thank goodness. It's quite warm,
It's freakishly warm today, Mr. Duncan.
very humid.
Humid, just warm. It must be 17 degrees out here at least,
I think so.
which is unusual. I've been doing a bit of gardening, Mr. Duncan, just a little bit of trimming here and there.
Good.
In fact, right behind you there in that little corner.
Wow.
So
It's-
maybe you can show. No.
I'm pretty sure the viewers are really...
Well, I'm just
Really?
saying what I've been doing. I'm just talking.
I've been setting up this live stream all morning. Hello also Palmyra. Come on, concentrate on the live chat. Normally Steve is always looking at the live chat. He seems very distracted today.
Not distracted. I'm just.
Here we go.
You
Val-
always say who's on.
Valentin. We also have Beatrice. Hello, Beatrice. It's nice to see you here today. Hello to Beatrice. You can go over there a bit. I feel like I'm
all
being...
right. How
That's
about
it.
over here? Shall I go over here? Is
No.
that better?
What? There we go. That's better. It looks there's more room, you see.
Well,
We
I'm
don't-
trying to look at the live chat.
Yeah,
Mr.
there it
Duncan,
is.
That's why.
There it
I know,
is.
but there's a reflection on the screen. I
can't-
see. That's better. That's
Oh,
better. That's
dear.
why I'm having to lean over because there's a reflection.
Okay. It's not that difficult. Here we go then, Steve. Live chat. Today we're looking at lots of different things. I'm sure we've put everyone off already with our bickering. We don't mean it, by the way.
Yes, we do.
Well, he does. He means it, but I don't. It's just a bit of fun. Hello, also, Irene is here as well.
Hello, Irene.
Hello, Irene. Come on.
Praxine.
Come on, Irene. Come on, Irene. Wasn't that a song from the 1980s?
Yes,
Who
by
else-
a band I hated.
Who else is here?
Well, there's Pradita says hello. Irene, we've said that already. Lewis is here, of course.
Luis Mendez.
Vitas, we've said. Ngoc Vu from Vietnam. Which I know I've pronounced that incorrectly, so I do apologise.
We all know.
But I'm saying that anyway. Kliesi Barb says, Oi bom dia.
Bom dia, which is hello. Greetings.
I was guessing that. So yeah, you're all here. Milad Javadi is here. Hello, Dimitros, we've said already. Giovanni Rivetti says hello, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. Valentin Goglev, or Golev, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but hopefully we've got that right. And Rose is here.
Hershid is here as well. Hello to you. We also have English Lessons. Hello, English Lessons. Nicoletta, hello to you. We have a lot of people, you might not believe this, Steve, but we do get a lot of people who are English teachers watching my lessons and also the live streams as well. So you
Just
might...
to see how it's not done. I'm just joking.
But you said you mean everything. Oh, okay. Beatrice, you have a higher temperature in your autumn than we do in spring because it is springtime. That's strange, isn't it?
It's always strange to
strange.
think it's the same in Australia, isn't it?
Yes. So, well, they're still in deep winter. So
Yes, that's what I
have-
mean. The seasons are different.
But at the moment in Argentina, it is early spring. So all of the flowers are preparing to come out into bud. And all of the leaves on the trees, the ones that do come out in spring. So it's very strange. As we head now towards autumn and then winter, in Argentina and many parts of South America and also down towards Australia, as Steve said, they are preparing for the change of season as well, but different seasons.
Ricardo says it looks like we've been drinking because we've got a reddish tone to our faces.
Yes, okay.
Similar to if we've had 2 glasses of wine. Well, maybe we have had 2 glasses of wine. I've had 6, so that probably accounts for it. But no, you can't be in the garden doing gardening if you're under the influence of alcohol. Mr. Duncan's attempting to change the...
Is that better?
Is that better? Maybe we're only down to 1 glass of wine each now, Mr. Duncan. 40 degrees, says Rosa, where Rosa is. 40 degrees, wow, that's unbearable. That is staying indoors with aircon on full temperature.
I think so.
31 degrees, says Rosa. So it's warm everywhere, it seems, apart from in Argentina.
So today, it is Sunday, every Sunday. Now, I remember growing up, Sunday always had a very different feeling from the rest of the week. It always seemed as if Sunday had its own atmosphere or its own feeling. What were Sundays like in your house, Steve?
Very religious. No, well, it was for my mother. She always went to church and came back very happy and cheerful, which used to annoy us. But she always went to church and she always came back full of life, bubbling. She'd been talking to people, socialising. And then she would cook. It was always a roast dinner on a Sunday, traditional roast beef or lamb or pork on a rotisserie where the meat goes round and round and gets cooked slowly. And my father used to like doing this. So my father used to take care of the rotisserie, basting the meat. And then we'd just have meat and 2 vegetables with it and a nice pudding.
Yes.
Sometimes we'd have, like, Dad would do a prawn cocktail starter or something.
That's disgusting.
But yeah, we always ate well on a Sunday.
Who has prawn cocktail for their Sunday lunch? I don't think anyone does.
Well, sometimes we did as a starter. It was prawn cocktail became very popular in the 70s in the UK.
Not for Sunday dinner.
Well, as a starter, not as a main meal, as a starter.
It sounds
First course.
It sounds like you were eating at a Burney Inn or something, or one of those places where... I do remember, though, in the 70s, prawn cocktail was everywhere.
It was everywhere, Mr. Duncan. So my father used to like cooking it or making it at home. He'd buy some frozen prawns.
Yes.
And then he would put lemon juice on them and some kind of sauce. I can't remember what it was now that you put on it, like Thousand Island dressing or something.
Yes, it was a type of special sauce that you put on, and it made the fish all taste, well, It made it taste not so fishy, to be honest.
I don't like prawns or mussels, or I don't like that kind of seafood. It's not my favourite. So I used to eat it, but we didn't always have it. Then Dad would play some classical music while we were eating, usually Beethoven.
And normally during your meals, I remember you telling me this, that you weren't allowed to make any sounds or even speak.
Well, Dad used to love recording classical music on his reel-to-reel tape recorder. So a very big, old-fashioned tape recorder with big reels of tape.
I think we get it.
And, well, I'm just explaining it to the young people who won't have heard of such devices. And I wish I kept it now.
I can tell you now we have no young people watching.
Well, yes, probably not. But yes, and then it was just, and then after the meal, Dad would sit down in his favourite armchair and watch sport.
Yes, a lot of people would sleep.
And he would sleep, watch a bit of sport, usually football or golf or cricket. In the summer it was cricket. But yes, Dad was a great avid sports watcher. Mum would do the washing up, and I would help to dry, or my sister would. And yeah, it was sort of a family event. The family got together on a Sunday for the traditional Sunday roast.
Yes, I think so. So very similar. I think everyone had very similar Sundays, especially growing up in the 1970s. It was almost a tradition. So that's one of the things I wanted to ask today. How is your Sunday? Do you treat Sunday as a different type of day? Maybe a day for having the family together, because that's what used to happen. But I don't think these days, I don't think people do. I think now Sunday just feels like a normal day. And one of the other things I always remember about Sundays growing up was that the shops were shut.
Yes.
All of the shops were closed. Not just some of them, not half day closing, but completely closed. So you couldn't go into town because all of the towns were shut. They were closed down, everything shut. You couldn't buy anything on Sunday. So that's another reason why a lot of people used to just stay at home and relax and enjoy some food. So I think Sunday used to be a very atmospheric day. It used to be a day where everything felt like Sunday. Now, some people might say that Sundays were boring in the past, and quite likely, as a child, I used to find Sundays sometimes a little bit boring because you couldn't go out. There was nowhere to go because everywhere was closed.
Yes, it was. So if you'd forgotten your mint sauce to go with your lamb, or your horseradish sauce to go with your beef, or your apple sauce to go with your pork, you couldn't just nip down to the shops and get it because they were all shut. Although we used to make our own. So Dad had a horseradish plants in the garden, and we used to make that. We used to make our own mint sauce for the lamb. I always remember that. We used to chop up we used to have a knife, and we used to chop up the leaves into very fine particles. Then we'd add sugar and vinegar and make our own mint sauce.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, we always did that with lamb.
So lamb, we used to have, I tell you what, we used to have quite a lot. We used to have chicken, or sometimes we would have lamb chops as well, but quite often it would be a bird.
No, we didn't have chicken very often. My father didn't like chicken.
Oh, I see.
He wasn't a fan of chicken, so we always had like the red meats, pork, beef, lamb, that sort of thing. It was one of those three every week. Occasionally we'd have a chicken, at Easter we'd have turkey. But yeah, it was always, Mum was always very busy. And Dad used to eat, go and sit down, fall asleep and watch the sport.
That's it.
That's what people did.
It was normally a day where everyone would completely relax and do very little. And I suppose if we go further back, You might also say that Sunday was the day when everyone went to church, which is something very few people do nowadays. So
As I say, my mother did.
so
She
I s-
went every Sunday.
So I suppose in the past, a long time ago, a big part of the Sunday ritual would be going to church. Of course,
Yes.
I never went to church as a child. I have to be honest with you. We never went to church. The only times I went to church were, well, funerals, but that was later in life because my family wouldn't allow me to go to things like funerals because they were worried that I wouldn't understand what they were all about. Why has my auntie disappeared, and why is she now lying in that box? That sort of thing. So kids aren't very good at processing that stuff. So I never really went to church at all, to be honest. And even on Sunday, we didn't go to church. So, but your mother, I know your mother used to go to church right up to the end of her life.
Oh yes, she was a big churchgoer, believer. Oh, I mean, we used to go to Sunday school.
Huh?
I seem to vaguely remember. I don't know what age I stopped going. See, my father wasn't a churchgoer, but my mother was, so she would always go. They were quite independent, really. But yes, I mean, the morning on the Sunday, Dad would spend the morning reading the papers.
Ah,
He'd buy lots of papers on a Sunday, and they were always very bulky things on a Sunday. They'd be about that thick.
yes.
There'd be all sorts of magazines inside them.
They're just as bad now.
Yeah, so Dad always used to read the papers. Mum went to church, came back and prepared the meal. Then she had to do all the washing up. Of course, you know, Dad was at work all week. I mean, Mum was, but she only worked part-time. So I suppose, you know, Dad thought he could get Sunday off.
But I do
doing
find
nothing.
I do find it interesting over the years how Sunday has changed as a day where families would get together. I think a lot of families don't even spend time together on Sunday. I would imagine the kids, especially if they are teenagers, I bet they go out somewhere on Sunday now and not even stay at home with the family. So I would imagine that tradition of the family getting together on Sunday and having a meal together probably doesn't happen as much as it used to.
A day of rest, it always used to be called. That's what my mother always said. Sunday's a day of rest. Although she wasn't actually resting. She was cooking and doing whatever. Actually, Dad used to go in the garden. So what do you do on a Sunday? Of course, a lot of people have been saying that their Sundays completely revolve around these live streams, of course.
Are we part of your Sunday?
I think we are for a lot of people.
Is it
which
true?
We still go to church in Poland, says Darek. So that's interesting. So how many people, what percentage of the population go to church in Poland, Darek? Please let us know, because I would say here, I mean, if I mean, I don't know about other religions. I'm just talking about Church of England.
Yeah, well, it's on Sunday because each religion has its own special day. A lot of people go on Friday. If they are Muslim, they go to the mosque on Friday, have special prayers, and on Saturday it's the Jewish faith. Their Sabbath is on Saturday, and in the Christian faith, a lot of people observe Sunday, but they don't necessarily go to church. So very few people now. Here in Much Wenlock, shall I mention, here in Much Wenlock we do have a local church, and I still think a lot of the older residents of this area do go to church. I think so.
Yes, but I mean, around the country, we're not sure. It's certainly less than 10%, probably not even that would go to church on a Sunday. It used to be, 90%, 100% probably when my parents were growing. In fact, when my mother was growing up, in the 1930s, 1940s, everybody went to church. Literally everybody. So it was probably 100%.
There was definitely a lot of praying taking place during the 1930s and early 1940s, definitely.
But yes, I mean, that was, people did for decades. But whether they do now, I'd probably say 5%, I would say. and of course the church, Christian churches have deteriorated considerably. The numbers of people that go to them, at least here in the UK.
Hmm. So you never think of days during the week as being religious days, unless, of course, it is a special type of festival that is often observed on different days of the week, or some, of course, that are always observed on certain days of the week, such as Wednesday. So in the Christian faith, I think there's Ash Wednesday. So it's always on Wednesday. That's because it's always the nearest Wednesday that falls, I think it's after Easter. So Easter is a very interesting festival because it takes place over a very long period of time. So there are many different observations that take place. Easter is only one of them. Is only one of those things.
Yeah, so please let us know, Darek, in Poland, how many people you would estimate go to church, and what is the main church there? I'm guessing it's Catholic, but I'm not sure, so please let us know. We'd always like to know what goes on in your countries.
Now for me, traditionally as my family, because my father was sometimes away doing various things that I won't go into, but quite often we would be together with my father as well, and we would do the same thing as Steve's family, without the classical music. We didn't have classical music playing, but we did have my parents arguing and rowing, which was kind of nice. It allowed the meal to go by very quickly, but it always gave me indigestion afterwards.
Your mother did a very good roast, because I did sample. Sometimes I used to come round and visit on a Sunday.
Yes.
And your mother used to she was a very good cook. A very, lots of thick gravy, which of course we like in the UK. We like lots of gravy with our meat. Yes, Catholics used to go to church on Sundays. Yes, I expect they do. I would imagine in a lot of Catholic countries, I would imagine the church is still quite important.
But as I said, my mother used to cook the most amazing meals. And yes, when we first met, my mother used to make Sunday roasts for us as well. We would go round and have a Sunday roast. And I remember Steve would always, after the meal, he would always fall asleep for two reasons. First of all, my mother would make very big meals, but also my mother had a habit of always having the heating on in the house. So after we ate, Steve would normally fall asleep because of a combination of my mum's cooking, which was always great, and also the fact that the
living room was always at about 85 degrees.
It's true.
That's Fahrenheit, of course. I don't know what that is in centigrade, probably over 30, 32, probably 35. It was always very, very hot. So I would fall asleep instantly. But even if we weren't eating, I used to fall asleep at your mum's house because it was just always so hot in the living room.
That is true. So I think it would be a similar situation. But the really strange thing was that everywhere was closed. Everywhere was shut. So you couldn't go to the shops. Maybe you wanted to buy something from town, but you couldn't because all of the shops were shut. There was no internet. There was no Amazon. There were no deliveries coming to your house bringing all of those lovely things you've ordered off the internet. But nowadays it would appear that Sunday is just like any other day for most people, because you can go out, you can visit places, most places are open, the shops are open. So there is nothing really keeping you at home on Sunday because everywhere is open.
Dimitros says that probably around 30% of people are still going to church in Poland, but it's on the decline.
That is quite high.
It is quite high, but it's a lot higher than here in the UK. I'd probably estimate 5%. Lamb roast with mint sauce. Yummy, says English Lessons.
Well, can I just say, after the last census, because during a census we always record all of the traits or the ways of life of the population. So here, after the last census that we had, it turns out more and more people are now having no religion. So atheism is definitely on the increase in this country. So there are more and more people that don't observe religion or follow religion in any way whatsoever. And I think you're right. I think Christianity was something like less than 5% of the country. So it is very interesting how those things have changed over the years.
Big opportunity for new religions to grow into that space.
Maybe
which I'm sure they will do.
Maybe Scientology.
Yes, roast lamb, is something that people would be a popular roast on a Sunday, but it's probably, I would say, the most expensive meat that you can buy now. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, chicken's very cheap. Beef is somewhere in the middle, but lamb is very expensive. It was always expensive.
Of course, the best lamb comes from New Zealand.
So they say. Around here, they'd say it came from Wales. But yes, so we started having lots of imports of New Zealand lamb in the 1970s, and it became very popular. I think it was probably cheaper than the lamb you could get here. But I'm always amazed at how expensive lamb is, because we've got sheep everywhere. Wales is covered in sheep. I don't know whether they export most of it, but for some reason lamb is very expensive.
Well,
and I don't quite know why. I'd have to ask a farmer.
I can tell you. Lamb is only available at certain times of the year, and also it isn't produced in large amounts. So lamb is always seen as something that's almost a speciality meat, because no one wants to eat an old sheep because the meat is tough, and no one really wants to try that.
You don't get so much off a lamb, do you, as off a cow? You get a lot of meat off a cow. They grow very quickly, and so you get a lot of meat off a cow. That's probably why it's. But yeah, I mean, if you buy a joint of lamb, it's going to cost you £25 at least for a joint of lamb that will feed, 4 or 5 people, and that's €30, something like that, for a joint of lamb.
That might be the reason why people aren't having Sunday roasts, because the meat to go with it is so expensive.
Whereas you can buy a chicken, a nice chicken for £5, can't you?
I think so.
Which is what €6. So lamb's 5 times the cost of chicken, and beef would be somewhere in between.
Yes, I suppose with beef it depends what type of cut you have, but certainly lamb is a very expensive type of meat. And of course, more people now, and I suppose we should be fair, Steve, more people are eating less meat as well. So maybe they are substituting the meat with something else that hasn't been taken into a large barn and shot in the head.
I'll tell you what is cheap: lentils.
Well, yes.
Lentils and rice, very cheap meal and quite nutritious, apparently. Lots of, if you combine lentils and rice, you get a very good balance of all the different amino acids.
Yeah.
To give you a good protein mix.
That's good.
Which, of course, Hindus have been living off for thousands of years.
Yes.
So they know what they're doing.
You can't go wrong with rice. I have to say, 2 of my most favourite foods are possibly 2 of the things that are in abundance. Abundance. I like that word, by the way. If something is in abundance, it means it is plentiful. There is lots of it. Potatoes and rice. I love both of those things.
Oh yes, but we've said this before. If you're going to go vegetarian, you've got to know what you're doing, because to get the right mix of amino acids, to get the protein right in your diet, you've got to know what you're doing. You can't just eat lentils on their own or rice on. You've got to combine them with other things and
Yes.
make sure you get a nice balanced meal.
So you can never stray into these things without having some research or some information, because you might think it's better not to eat meat. There are some people who believe that eating meat is better than eating vegetables and fruit. But I think you've got to know what you're doing before you go into any of these things, because some people have become quite ill following strict diets. So whether that is going without meat or eating only meat. So you have to be very careful, because everyone's body, Mr. Steve's body, is different from mine. So maybe there are certain vitamins and certain things Steve needs more of that I don't. So you do have to be careful when you go down that road. It's always best if you change your diet in a big way. I think you've always got to check with your doctor to make sure it's the right thing.
I'm eating eggs instead of meat, says Juan Bernal. Yes, why not? Eggs are an excellent source of protein. It's virtually pure protein, certainly the white is, and they're very easy to digest. Eggs are they're a natural food. People have always eaten eggs. I would imagine, man thousands of years ago was getting birds' eggs and eating them because they're full of nutrients and they're very good for you.
Yes.
But again, you can't just live on eggs. You've got to have something else. People have all sorts of extreme diets now, all meat diets or vegan. That's an extreme diet, really. But as we've said, you've got to know what you're doing. Otherwise, over a period of time, over weeks and months and years, you'll become depleted in certain vitamins and not realise it until you suddenly become ill. Then you go to a doctor and have a blood test and he says, oh, you've got no vitamin B12, which is a common thing that vegetarians lack from their diets, which of course you can supplement.
So you do have to be careful when you start experimenting with your eating habits. You have to make sure that you're not doing more damage than good, because it is very easy.
I would say if you want to go vegetarian, then look at which cultures are vegetarian and have been for hundreds of thousands of years. In India, for example, then there's they don't eat meat. Hindus, I think I'm right in saying that Hindus don't eat meat at all, but they've obviously worked out what you can eat over hundreds of thousands of years that's vegetarian, that will provide all the vitamins and minerals and nutrients that you need. Excuse me. So I think if I was going to turn vegetarian, I would stick to a Hindu diet, because at least I'd look there first, because I know that, that has been something that has sustained that culture for thousands of years.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because we saw a very interesting program about the ascent of mankind, and it would appear that the big step forward for early man was, of course, discovering that you could grow things, crops, agriculture. So the big step forward for all of us, all Homo sapiens, was the ability to sow seeds, and then you could grow things on a very large scale, and then collect the seeds or collect the grain and use it for various things. So I think agriculture, certainly when we talk about human beings, I think it's safe to say that we are the only animals on the planet that actually processes the food or has some sort of agricultural arrangement with nature, where we grow things, we collect them, we eat them, and then we grow them again. So I think that was the big step forward for us.
Yes, wheat. Cultivating wheat allowed, as we saw in that programme, instead of living the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, where the nomadic lifestyle, where people were just wandering around every day to new places to look for food, you could stay in one place and set up a town, a settlement, because you could grow crops like wheat, which would sustain and allow people to stay in one place. And then once they stayed in one place, they could then think about how they could make tools, and it gave scope for the whole of development of mankind.
As I understand it, the Middle East was where many of the agricultural processes began. I think it was around there, I suppose where modern day Israel is, that sort of area. So a lot of irrigation, a lot of those types of agriculture were started in those areas. And the other thing that was always interesting that caught my eye when we were watching that program the other week was that because of small mutations, genetic mutations in these types of grains, we are actually able to grow them and eat them. And that's really amazing when you think about it. So it's not just us discovering it, it's also nature accidentally changing slightly, altering things in a way that allows these things, instead of them being inedible, they become something you can eat and process in your body.
In large quantities. You
Yeah.
got a higher yield, I think, when a particular type of wheat mutated into its modern form.
So that's
About 10,000 years ago, I think, from that programme.
it's quite fascinating.
It is fascinating. My crush has arrived. Are you referring to Pedro, Dimitros? No, well, Dimitros, you're my crush. So, I mean, you're here most weeks. I've got many crushes anyway, not just one or two, many crushes. But yes, have we got any Indian people on who are vegetarian? Please let us know. And I'd like to know what you eat. But from what I understand, from what I've read, I've seen, the staple is a combination of rice and lentils, I think is what is a good combination to keep you healthy for being vegetarian. So please let us know. Any vegetarians from India watching, any Hindus watching, please let us know. We'd love to. I mean, I love that. I love that sort of food. I could live off that, Mr. Duncan. But yes, I mean, a lot of people are saying as well, of course, now that they're saying that agriculture with meat, producing meat, is very bad for the environment because it's supposedly creating more CO2 than if you were going to have a vegetarian diet.
Yeah, well, I think this comes from not necessarily, because a lot of people misunderstand that, don't they? They say that it's because of the cows farting, but it isn't. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with the front end of the cow. When they eat, they have to keep burping. They bring up lots of air because they have to process the food many, many times. So every time they do that, it does produce methane. So it's not necessarily coming out the back end of the cow, but they believe it's because it's coming out of the front end of the cow.
See, this argument though doesn't make sense to me. That eating meat is bad for the ecology and bad for CO2 in the environment, because you think about it, before man came around, I mean, yes, we've got herds of sheep and cattle, but I would think there's still far less animals around now than there were, say, 10,000 years ago. I would think, I don't know, I might be wrong in that, but because we've killed a lot of wild animals off, haven't we?
Yes.
I mean, there aren't wild animals roaming. I mean, there used to be. You imagine going back thousands of years, there were wild animals everywhere.
Can I just stop you there, Steve, for a sec? Because it isn't sort of all of the animals, it's just certain animals that are being bred for meat. So you have fields of thousands and thousands of cows and fields full of thousands and thousands of sheep. So it's just one or two particular types of animal, isn't it now?
But yes, and they're all, of course, eat vegetables. But I mean, I don't know. But if you were to think of Africa, for example, I mean, the amount of wildlife, the amount of elephants that there used to be, even a few hundred years ago, elephants, all sorts of animals like that eat vegetables, that would be giving off, burping away and giving off methane. I mean, there's a fraction of those animals in the wild now compared to what there was thousands, even a few hundred years ago. So I find that argument a little. I'm not totally disagreeing with it, but I find the argument a little, not sustainable really. If you think back to what the Earth used to be like and how many wild animals there would have been.
Yes. Well, also the fact that there were more trees, I suppose, so you would have had more of nature would be there to take care of those things as well. So there are fewer trees in the world. I mean,
Far fewer, yes.
I mean, Britain used to be just a forest from end to end. It was just nothing but trees. And then over the years, of course, we chopped most of them down. So the amount of trees that exist now in the UK or across Britain is a fraction of what
Yes.
used to exist.
And the rainforests as well. And I was going to make a point there, but I can't remember what it was. Someone's estimated that because CO2 levels have gone up, there's been an estimate that plant life is actually accelerating. And I read a report somewhere that in certain parts of the world there's a 30% increase in plants. So there'll be, the CO2 levels used to be much higher in sort of prehistoric times, and the plant life grew very quickly. So maybe the increased plant life, because they like the CO2, maybe that'll balance it out and suck all the CO2 out of the atmosphere.
I think one of the problems as well is that people don't actually know whether or not anything that we are working out at the moment is actually correct or accurate. Because I've said this before, I will repeat it very quickly. Human beings have very short lives. We are here just like a flash, and then we're gone. And it's very hard for human beings to appreciate the processes that happen on the planet, because they happen over thousands and thousands, or in some cases millions of years. So we are here just for a millisecond, our lives just boop, gone, and we're trying to work out what the process of the planet is. But unless you are 100,000 years old, or even 100 million years old, you're not going to really have anything to work with, because there are no records of what the planet was like 100,000 years ago. No one wrote it down, you see.
There's no doubt CO2 levels. Anyway, we're getting into a heavy conversation.
I wasn't.
Duncan.
That's it. Well, that's basic. What I'm saying, we don't actually know. Even if we think we know, we don't know.
We probably think we know.
We can only guess. We can only work out what it might be, but we're not 100% sure, because you would have to come back 100 years from now to see if anything is changing. But of course, everyone here now, you, me, Mr. Steve, will all be dead, so we won't be able to say what it was like now at this point. It's very strange, isn't it?
It'll all be recorded.
Human beings are interesting creatures.
Right, there's nothing else on there at the moment. What else are we talking about today, Mr. Duncan?
Well, we're going in a minute, so we won't be talking about much.
We'll be eating insects soon, says Darek. Yes, they are talking about this possibility that we could be eating insects, because, of course, there's always lots of insects. And I think they've got sort of low impact on the environment. But, locusts, full of protein, very nutritious.
Well, the thing is, they're not going to just give them to us like on sticks in certain Asian countries. They have them deep fried, and then they put them on little sticks. So it won't be like that. But what they're going to do is dry them, grind them up, and then put them into food. So you might have food that looks like meat, and it will have all of the protein, but it won't actually be part of a cow or a sheep. It will be crushed, ground, powdered insects. But it will taste lovely, so it won't matter.
It'll be full of artificial flavours, won't it? And it'll be highly processed, so it probably won't be very good for you, really. Do you remember a film many years ago called, you'll remember this, Soylent Green it was called? It was a film set in the future where there was a shortage of food, and but people were just eating these sort of green bars of food. They were eating a very simple. Anyway, it turned out that when people died, their bodies weren't being buried or cremated. They were being recycled, and people were literally eating dead human beings.
Well, I think it's worse than that. I think weren't they actually purposely killing people? I'm sure they were killing people. Very similar to another movie called Logan's Run. But was Charlton Heston in that?
I can't remember. There were some well-known actors in it.
I don't know why. I always think of Charlton Heston as being in everything. Planet of the Apes, he was in that. I know that, but I always think he was in Soylent Green.
He might have been.
Yes, it seems like it.
Vitas says that Vitas puts a lot of jokes on the live stream, but this one could be a joke, but it's sort of true. Driving a sports car and sticking to the speed limit is like going to McDonald's and just having the salad. Yes, so that actually is true. If you buy a sports car, I mean, I think it's supposed to be a joke, but it's true. You spend a lot of money on a sports car and then just drive around normally as though you're in a Ford Fiesta or something.
Well, you have no choice.
Then, why bother? In other words, is what Vitas is saying with that statement.
Well, talking of cars and talking of the roads, in Wales at the moment,
yes,
Wales is very close to us. It's just over there, in fact.
If I look over my shoulder, I can see Wales.
We can see it. We can see Wales from our house. Hi. But in Wales, they've just passed a new law.
Yes.
That reduces the speed that people can drive to 20 miles an hour. Now, I can walk faster than that.
So that's in the town. So where it used to be a 30 mile an hour limit, which I wonder what that is in kilometres. Well, I'm just trying because most people don't use miles per hour. So 30 miles per hour, what is that, 40 kilometres an hour, 45, something like that. They've reduced it from 30 down to 20, which is probably 30 kilometres an hour. So it's very, very slow in all towns. Wherever it was 30,
I can walk quicker than that.
It's now 20, and it's the only country in the world that's done that. And I've got Welsh friends, and I've been speaking to them, and they're furious about it because it's an they seem to think it's an over the top reaction. By the government there.
Now, the thing I do agree with is that 20 miles an hour is a good speed limit near places where there might be lots of kids, maybe a school.
Yes.
So during school time, and maybe when the kids are coming out of school, having an area where the speed limit is 20 miles an hour is a good idea. It's very good, very good. But not everywhere. Not all over the place.
Yes, so it's causing a few issues. That there have been over 1.5 million signatures to a petition to ask the government to put it back up to 30, and that's a third of the population of Wales have already signed a petition. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to make it rather difficult for the locals and for people travelling to Wales on holiday. But then I don't think it's going to make much difference to holiday makers because you don't really travel through the towns anyway. We mainly travel on the country roads, and they haven't changed the speed limit there.
So it will be interesting. This is only just started. So it will be interesting to see what happens with the statistics of accidents and deaths on the road, whether it actually does make a difference. So you might be a little bit worried. We are worried because if it's successful, you might find that we adopt it here in England. We might start all driving around very slowly.
Francesca says, hello, Francesca. He's been working very hard recently. In Italy, 20 miles an hour, there would be riots.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, yes. I mean, sheep go faster than 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So I think you'll be sheep passing you with that. Yes, it's causing a lot of consternation. There's a good word for you.
Consternation.
Consternation, a lot of upset, a lot of talk,
Hmm.
a
lot
lot
of-
of
A lot of fuss. People are getting a little bit unhappy and
Unhappiness.
wound up by the thought of driving around so slowly.
Do we know a watch brand called CWC? Says Pedro. No, I haven't heard of that. Is that a local watch brand for Brazil, maybe? Where you are, please let us know. I haven't heard of CWC.
I've never heard of a watch company in Brazil. I don't think there are. I'd imagine they're mostly imported.
Please tell us, Pedro. We'd like to know. That's about it on the live chat for now.
Okay.
Yes. Well, we could always talk about the other thing that's happened in politics this week.
Well, let's not. Let's not, because it's 3 minutes to 3. And to be honest with you, everyone needs to be cheered up. That's why we're here, to cheer you up, not to talk about depressing things all the time. However, sometimes you do have to talk about things that aren't so cheerful as well.
It was cars I was going to talk about.
Yes, anyway. We've been talking about cars for the past 5 minutes.
Okay, then.
Technically, you see. The cows are coming by. The cows are coming by. They look lovely today. They look all happy. The cows. I'm just going to wave to the cows. Hello, cows. Hello.
They look very meaty.
They look.
Yes.
Yes.
Keep eating that grass.
I remember
Grow bigger.
someone once asked if we were ever tempted to go and take one of the cows and maybe chop it up and put it in the freezer.
I think the people would look not very kindly on you in this area if you stole people's cattle or sheep. Cattle rustling, as it's called. Well, it is in America. I don't know what you call it here. Just cattle theft, probably. I think they would notice. They would, because the farmer comes quite regularly and counts them.
The word you're looking for is poach.
Cow poaching. Yes, so I don't think there's much danger of us doing that because, well, that's the other thing they would say about meat eaters.
Yeah.
Well, if you had to kill the animal yourself, you probably wouldn't do it. Although when my parents were growing up, they used to keep pigs in there. Everyone had a pig in their back garden.
I thought you were going to say your parents used to kill a cow in the back garden.
Well, people used to commonly keep pigs because pigs eat anything. So they're quite good animals to keep in your garden.
So you're telling me right now, live, at 3 o'clock UK time, you're telling me that your parents used to keep pigs and they used to slaughter them in their garden?
Yes, everybody did, particularly during the war, because a pig would keep you going for months.
Who did it?
I don't know. Presumably it was my grandfather, or maybe you got somebody in. But chickens. Everybody had chickens, and a lot of people had a pig because everybody had quite big gardens then. Houses had quite big gardens, and you'd keep a pig for a few months or a year, and then
What? I've never ever heard of this. I don't think families used to do that.
Certainly chickens. They did.
This was going back to your grandparents' time.
Yeah, so we're talking 1930s,
Okay.
probably. People used to keep pigs in their garden and chickens. Must have stunk in the local area.
Yes, and of course, not everyone likes to eat pork anyway.
Well,
So
of
maybe
course.
there are other alternatives like chicken. You can have chicken, or maybe
Thing about pigs is, as I've said, they're very good animals to keep domestically because you can just throw anything and they'll eat it. They'll just eat any old scraps. So they'll eat anything. So they're very good animals to keep. Whereas keeping a cow in your garden, you've got to have a lot of grass for it.
I think so.
Anyway,
Anywho, it is almost time to say goodbye. I hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. And of course, we will be back next week. I might be doing a special live stream from Shrewsbury because it is the first ever Pride weekend. So I might be there hanging around with all of the glamorous people, all of the drag queens. I might even go there myself, dressed up in drag. Let's see what happens.
just yes, you could always. I've never seen you do. You could always just take your costume with you and then just see what's going on,
Yes. So
rather than go on the bus like that.
So I think I might do that. I might go over to Shrewsbury next week, not very far away from here, and see what happens. I might do a live stream. We will see. Also, there are new lessons coming during the week as well, so look out for those.
All right. Well, it's lovely to be here. Lovely to see you all, hear you all, and read out your lovely comments. And we thank you very much for those.
Thank you very much for watching, and it's been lovely being with you today. See you soon. Take care. Don't forget to give me a big like on here as well, because YouTube, for some reason, they seem obsessed with likes. So you have to have lots of likes, or else YouTube will just ignore you. They will pretend that you don't exist. So please, can we have lots of likes as well? See you next weekend. This is Mr. Duncan and
Mr. Steve.
saying thanks for watching. See you later. Take care of yourself. This will be available soon again, this live stream, with lovely captions as well. Take care. And of course, until the next time we meet, you know what's coming next as the sun comes out and everything is lovely and bright. You know what's coming next. Are you ready, Mr. Steve?
I'm ready.
Ta-ta for now. Do